Marie Curie was a very important person in the development of modern science. She discovered elements, became the first woman to win the Nobel Prize, and remains the only woman to receive 2 Nobel Prizes for her work in both chemistry and physics. With Curies Elements for zSpace, now we can explore chemistry while discovering elements. Let's get started with the important elements of this application. On the left, we have our home control bar, filled with functions you'll probably recognize in our other zSpace learning applications. On the right, we can choose different views of the periodic table. We can see elements by ionization energy, electronegativity, electron group, and more. This is the atom builder, but we'll get back to that in just a moment. For now, let's jump in and select an element from the periodic table using the front button of the stylus. Did you know that the graphite in your pencil and a diamond are basically the same thing? Atomically speaking, that is. Just like water is to ice, graphite and diamonds are just differently structured groups of the same atoms. Carbon atoms to be specific. If we right-click the tile, we bring up a context menu. Right now we're looking at the Bohr view. You can also choose the atomic view, or a combined view. If we select the detailed view, we can read about this element and learn about its structure. Here we can see how many protons, neutrons, and electrons are in this element. And here, all sorts of information about this element is available. Things like its atomic mass, when it was discovered, and my personal favorite, abundance in humans, which means how much of this element is in you. In the second tab at the top, we can see common isotopes of this element, kind of like if carbon had a different haircut. By the way, while we're in detailed view, we are still able to change the view of the element. Let's go back to the periodic table scene. Remember the atom builder I mentioned earlier? Let's jump into it now. Around this scene, we have the options to add a number of protons, neutrons, and electrons to the atom. We can do so by grabbing what we want to add and dragging it into the atom. Notice how there are different levels or rings for electrons? That is so you can add a different number of electrons to different levels around the nucleus. Sure, that looks good. Let's build it. And, well, my atom didn't build, but that's probably because I just made it up. Let me just reset here, and if I remember correctly from the detailed view, carbon had 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. So let's try that. And, aha! I created carbon. Sorry. If I click the home button, I can return back to the periodic table scene. A couple tips for doing activities in Curies Elements. You may be asked to answer a question with text like this, or with a photo, which you can take by clicking on this camera icon. You can use the left button to zoom in, and then click the front button to take a photo. You'll see it here. Move through the questions by selecting these arrows. And when you're finished with the activity, be sure to type your name and class. Alright, I'm done talking, so that means it's your turn to explore Curies Elements with zSpace.